thank you both for being here today and taking time out of your busy schedules to listen and with open minds to my speech about the important topic of orcas in captivity. What would it be like for you if you had been kidnapped at the age of 6 and taken from your families, where you were forced to live for decades in isolation, trained, and then forced to entertain the public for food, for medical care, never given a day off, never given a vacation, forced to work with no hopes of retirement until the day you die? How many of you have been to the Miami Seaquarium or heard of the Miami Seaquarium? You can just raise your hand, you don't have to answer. Okay. Did you see the killer whale show? Okay. Well, for 53 years there was a killer whale there named Lolita. She was taken from captivity when she was 6. And she was brought to the Miami Seaquarium, where she performed every day for 53 years until the day that she died. By herself, alone in a tank that was 80 feet by 35 feet and 20 feet deep at its deepest point, which was like right in the middle. Most of the tank was like 12 feet deep. That would be like us living in a 5 foot above the ground swimming pool. I want to talk to you a little bit about the pressing issue and that demands our attention and action, the plight of orcas in captivity. These majestic creatures who traverse thousands of miles a day in the open ocean are confined to tanks that are severely restricted. It restricts their natural physical movement behaviors and instincts. Join me as we explore the ethical, environmental, and psychological impacts of keeping orcas in captivity and why it is imperative that we work together towards a future where orcas are no longer kept in captivity. This issue is not only relevant but profoundly significant. Understanding these magnificent creatures and reconsidering their treatment under human supervision is crucial. By exploring the ethical, environmental, and psychological impacts of keeping orcas in captivity, we can gain deeper appreciation for their true nature and recognize the urgent need to ensure their well-being and freedom. You're probably asking yourself, well, who am I? Why do I care so much about orcas? Well, a little background is, obviously, as you both know, I'm a Florida native. I grew up in Florida with a SeaWorld right in my own backyard. So I took many trips as a child to SeaWorld, and as a kid, I just thought that was the coolest thing you could ever do, was go and see Shamu. You know, obviously that wasn't the original Shamu, but to me as a kid, that was Shamu. As I got older and learned more about killer whales, because after I went to SeaWorld, I just had to know everything about killer whales that there was to know. I started to realize that was not how killer whales should be treated. They should not live with so many of whales in such a small tank, and that probably there was something wrong with that. It didn't seem quite right, even to me as like a 9 or 10-year-old. My last trip actually to SeaWorld was a little bit ago. It was in 2012. I went with a friend of mine, and I cried. I did just start to cry because I had learned so much about killer whales, and then I saw them again. I thought, oh, it'll be nice to see them. The waterworks came on. You just knew that they're not in a good environment there. Then right after that is when the Blackfish documentary came out, which is documentary. If you've never seen it, it's on killer whales in captivity. It's really good. I recommend you watch it sometime. Be prepared. Those It can be pretty sad. Um, Moving on, some of the other topics that I would like to discuss with you today are what the impacts of captivity, um, from what the research tells us that captivity is like for the orcas, and this is objective empirical information. I will briefly summarize what captivity is like for orcas, thanks to the work of Gabrielle Copperthwaite. She did the work on blackfish, as well as Dr. Ingrid Visser. She did a lot of work for blackfish, as well as her own research in New Zealand and around the world on orcas. Let's begin by discussing the impacts of orcas in captivity. Thanks to the groundbreaking work by Ingrid Visser, we have a real good understanding of what the families and natural habitats and the devastating consequences of orcas living in captivity can be like. In the wild, orcas live in close-knit family groups known as pods. These pods have intricate social structures and familial social bonds, crucial to their well-being. Imagine being torn away from your family and friends, unable to see or communicate with them. This is the harsh reality for many captive orcas, leading to feelings of loneliness, anxiety, and depression. This often manifests as chewing on their metal gates and concrete enclosures. Another significant impact of captivity on orcas is that they are acoustic animals in concrete tanks. Orcas are acoustic animals that rely heavily on sound to navigate, communicate, and hunt. In the wild, they use echolocation to explore their vast oceanic environment and maintain social connections with their pod members. However, in captivity, they don't have that. They are put into tanks with orcas from different whales that are from different parts of the world that speak different dialects, different languages, so they can't even speak to those whales that they're in the tanks with most of the time. And they're exposed to a lot of banging and clanging and audiences and things like that, clapping and music, and anybody that's been to any kind of marine park, you know that there's a lot of ambient noise. You live in a theme park, you live in a zoo, you live in a pool, and pool pumps are loud, especially ones as big as aquarium tanks. Another point I'd like to bring up is that bringing orcas from the wild to captivity is violent. Oftentimes they trap these animals, they kill their families, they bring them in, they never see their families again. The third main point I'd like to bring up is captive orcas are separated from their families at a young age and placed in tanks with other whales they do not know. The strange companions often speak different languages, like I said before, adding to the orcas' stress and confusion. Orcas have complex vocalizations unique to their pods, akin to human languages. When they are placed with whales from different pods, they struggle to communicate effectively, leading to social isolation and further psychological trauma. Imagine being taken from your family, placed in a foreign land where you do not speak the language. That is the reality for many captive orcas. This lack of social cohesion can result in aggressive behaviors that further exacerbate the stress of captivity. In conclusion, I would like to just point out that my purpose has been to inform you about the lives of orcas in captivity and the struggles that they go through. I want to educate and explain that these intelligent creatures are more than just circus performers. The next time you buy a ticket to a marine park, think of Lolita and all the other whales who have died without a voice. I hope you remember what you have learned today. Thank you for your time and attention.